like take 50, and I wanted this to be like super candid, as candid as could be, but I got a lot of emotions, and so I just keep having to do more takes. So hey, hi, hello, I am Gobi, and we are going to talk about Gen Con, and it's going to be super awkward. So to start, where have I been? I posted a video a month ago, and then just... One, I picked something up at Gen Con, and so I've been running 103 fevers on and off. I've been not great. My doctor finally just sent off for a bunch of testing on Friday, and I am homebound until I get results, which could be a week, could be 2 weeks. I don't know. So most days I haven't really been in a condition that is like able to get on camera and chit chat with you guys because I've been not great. But that doesn't mean that I haven't been productive. I got a lot of projects going on. Collaboration with Tricuros is really cool. I'm working on all the illustrations. I got my little boom, it's there. And working on a top secret project that you're gonna get the announcement for next week. But for now, if you follow my TikTok or you're part of the Discord, you might know what's coming. And most importantly, I've been trying to work on a background project for Homie and the Dude, the Scorch Basin, which brings us to this video sponsored by Homie and the Dude for Scorch Basin. I'm going to talk about them later because I got to meet them at Gen Con and it was genuinely one of the most magical parts. And then we'll talk about Scorch Basin and all that. But thank you guys for sponsoring this video. So without further ado, let's talk Gen Con. I know you guys are used to Vander being around. This is Crackers. I've had Crackers for 10 years in this past June. Little man. And he, if he's in an area, owns a place, and that's that. He is also part of why this has taken like 50 takes. You comfy? Ever since my first video, within the first couple of weeks, I was being told about Gen Con. How you have to go to Gen Con. Have to. It's a pivotal part about being a creator in the TTRPG sphere. You have to go to Gen Con. Now, technically, I was there for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. However, I didn't get in Thursday until 4 p.m. because we did drive out. Friday, I was in cosplay for Homie and the Dude. Saturday, we just kind of moseyed around and tried to check out the shops. And Sunday was a lot of meetups with friends. But I did spend a lot of time on the con floor and at the convention during the trip. Most of the time I was there until we were literally being kicked out, which we'll get around to. And I feel like I also have to like preface this with like, I'm not new to conventions. I haven't been to Gen Con before because I'm newer to the TTRPG sphere, but I'm not new to conventions. I grew up with MegaCon, and MegaCon's a lot. I go to Saratoga Comic-Con twice a year, every year. And then all the little conventions decorated between Daytona Beach and Orlando, I have always gone to. So I'm not a con newbie. And I think that might be why I didn't enjoy it as much as some of my friends. So once we got there, my biggest, immediate, huge, what is happening was the giant lack of security. Gen Con is like massive. This isn't a local craft fair or something small. Like there are people coming from around the world to this massive event. How many people were there this year? 72,000. 72,000 people. Now, aside from the fact that people could have really easily stolen stuff, how people could have been bringing in and out weapons, like it only takes one person having a bad day to be a bad situation. I knew people who were like just going into the con floor and they were either borrowing passes from other people or not. Now, here's where I get really upset about that. I don't care if you trade passes. What I care about is that for security purposes, we had to put our full name on our badge, or our full legal name. I'm sure many of you can understand that as a creator, most of you can't put out your full legal name. In 2019, I was subjected to one of the worst doxings that you could ever imagine. I was getting death threats. My senior mother was getting death threats, all because I played League of Legends and I was streaming it at the time. And there was no option to be like, hey, I don't want my legal name on this, because they can check your ID and pass. It literally says, like, you have to be able to present this at any given time. So you can't just put stickers on it. No, you got to get a whole badge holder, put stickers on that, have to have it readily accessible. There was no consideration for creators. And what if we're in a crowd and somebody says, hey, I want to see your badge name? Great, we just have to give that over. So we're put into the situation where your full legal name is on your badge for security. And then there was like no security. going in and out of the convention halls for 3 days. I had somebody ask about my badge twice. Say, oh, we can't see it, twice. That's it. So already it feels like there's some sort of dissonance between caring about the people of the event, the safety of the people of the event, the safety of the creators at the event, aside from just a lack of security. There just seemed to be a carelessness. That came in again with the lack of seating. Now I have a cardiac condition and a lot of my friends are disabled, so I tend to kind of like look for those areas. Yeah, not every event is made for us and we don't expect for it to be catered, but man, if you weren't a part of an event, it was tough. At one point I did have a cardiac episode. I had 3 while I was there, and I had to just be like escorted by my friends to a traffic barrier. Just sitting on a plastic traffic barrier out in the food court because there was not enough space. They know the amount of people who come out and there weren't seating. And it's not a seated event, but that even parks, even walking trails have some benches. Again, not apocalyptic, but these are my critiques that I was seeing while I was there that I hope they do better with next year. And also, I'd rather talk about the bad stuff first. We get that out of the way and then we end on a high note. But sadly, that high note is not here yet. One of my biggest peeves as an artist, I'm a full-time artist. That's what I do. That's my thing. I can't express the level of frustration I had with the creators market being just like hidden in the basement. Now, a lot of the creators have even said they didn't mind being down there. And it was a lot easier to just have a row of things instead of being set up in the middle of stuff when you carry a lot of crafts. Also, it was a lot nicer AC'd down there. I get that, the little like passageway. But what was frustrating to me was the lack of communication on that. Bare minimum signage. I will say I did like the rows with the numbers and the letters inside. That made it easier to remember booths and to find stuff. But I'm talking about the grand scheme of how to find things was nightmarish. We had to ask directions like 100 times while trying to get to a panel. Even my other artist friends, even my other creator friends down there to go see stuff, they were like, I didn't even know this was down there. Most of the traffic would go through the food court to get to the stadium, the like big block party, because that was the only place you could really get any like good food or drink. So unless you were going to see the makers, you probably weren't using the little underground tunnel. But I don't think that was intentional. I genuinely think that they were just kind of collateral damage in the lack of directions and guidance when getting there. It was not very new person friendly. We also desperately wanted to play Magic and we could not find a place to play that was like late hours. A lot of convention halls will like close the store and halls and they'll still have gaming seating for after hours because like people are traveling here. People are coming from, again, out of state, out of town, out of the country. Some accommodations for those after hours is kind of something that I've been used to at other events I've gone to. Like, yeah, they'll close the main halls at 5, but then everything else is open till like 6, 7, 8, where you can game. There's tables, stuff like that. Could not, we just got kicked out. It was actually the Marriott and the hotels that were accommodating to being able to play games with people. And again, you had to kind of know somebody who was staying there to even know that that was a thing. Now on my end, I was one of the lucky people who did have others who could guide me and teach me things and show me things, but it just made me really sad for the people who went and didn't have that. Especially for events. We like paid for events and then were not able to figure it out or find it or get there in time. Like it was so difficult. We made it to one panel at Gen Con. So I can't speak for the other panels and content, but this is where we shift into the brighter notes of Gen Con, starting with said Scorch Basin and Homie and the Dude and their absolutely incredible panel. Now, before I get into what is Scorch Basin, I just want to talk about how meeting Homie and the Dude, Tom and Bodhi, was genuinely one of the highlights of the entire trip. We had a couple correspondence back and forth and a couple of meetings when talking about Scorch Basin because it's something that I had a huge passion for. I have like an old muscle car I inherited. I grew up around them. And so I had a big passion for the project that they were working on. And it was nice. They seemed very nice. And then I met them in person and I feel like I gained family members. Tom and Bodhi are genuinely some of the nicest people I've ever met. They are in the must be protected at all costs category for friends. And everybody who I met felt the same way. They are so down to earth and so nice. We actually had our engagement party at Gen Con, which was incredible. And Tom and Bodhi were passing by the bar and saw us and then just joined us. And I felt like a little worried at first because that was how I first kind of got to know them, that like, oh, well, we kind of like, feel like I work with them. Is it unprofessional to invite them to things? And that's when I realized like, no, we work together and they're really incredible friends. We even got to play Magic. Tom kicked my ass. Bodhi appreciated how adorable my deck was, but Tom kicked my ass. But before all else, you're not just supporting a cool project, you're supporting my friends. And I'm gonna get all emotional if I keep talking about it, so we're just gonna get into the rest of it. So as somebody who was at the panel, it was one of the best panels I've been to. They included the crowd, which you don't often see at panels. They had everybody work together to name one of the vehicles. They brought a lot of the creators to the spotlight who have been doing the voices of characters. Oh, I voiced a character for them. Well, this is what we're gonna call Scorch September. We're gonna be covering Scorch Basin, all the videos this month. So I'll talk about the Matron of Speed in another video. She's really cool, trust me. But they brought a spotlight onto all the creators who are supporting the community. And honestly, they have an army of support. They even gave some really nice metal plates out, which are they're collectible, so they have like the little thing. But this one is one of the promotion ones, so it doesn't have like a number or anything. But at certain Kickstarter points, you can get one of these, and it's really nice. But aside from community involvement, they also shared their most up-to-date trailer that hadn't been seen before, so it was really cool. Now, the reason why Scorch Basin is so cool is that it's like a system agnostic type of setup where you can add it to any of your games. It adds vehicles, it adds new magic manipulation, it adds factions, it adds so many cool characters, including yours truly as a Matron of Speed. Granted, I did technically voice her inner thoughts that you wouldn't technically hear because like she ripped out her tongue, but that's like, don't even worry about that. That's, spoiler alert. But a lot of people have been describing it as like this Dune and Mad Max kind of molded together thing. For me, personally, I didn't watch Dune until after I learned about the Scorch Basin, and I haven't watched Mad Max. So the way I've been enjoying it is thinking about it as kind of like Desert Atlantis, you know? This giant crater in the desert holding this magical, mythical crystal that all these people are fighting over. The unique magic and creatures that come with the world surrounding that. It brings me a lot of joy. And I think it'll bring your games a lot of joy too. So make sure to check the link below for the Kickstarter. And even if you're not in a place right now where you can directly support the Kickstarter, one of the best things that you can do for any creative is to share their work, talk about it, tell the people you love about it. But I have a lot more other cool things about the Scorch Basin coming soon. But you're not here for just the Scorch Basin today, you're here for Gen Con. So some of the goods about Gen Con, oh my god, the block party was such a great idea. I cannot stand the usual convention food. One of my favorite conventions I go to is the Oddities and Curiosities Expo, which if you aren't into taxidermy, definitely will probably not be your scene. But I've done modeling and sales for a couple artists in that sphere for like jewelry and things like that, so I started getting into it there, and then it's really cool and fun. However, they just have whatever food is at the convention hall, and it's always terrible. I'm used to going to a convention being prepared to either eat the worst gas station style hot dog I've ever had or a giant soft pretzel. So having consistent good variety of food that I could eat over the weekend was so good. I was super impressed with the organizing of that. Something that I did actually appreciate, which a lot of people didn't, was the division of games/panels and the sales area. I'm still confused because it seemed like some games were in the main building and some were in the stadium, but I did like the generalized, like, here is a space for this idea, and I kind of wish they just fully committed to it. I think it was the having to go back and forth and not knowing where you were going that was frustrating, but I kind of like the division. I know a lot of people say that it takes away from the spirit of Gen Con, which was to get together to play games. But I like the division because I feel like it gives those coming for the games a space to play them around other people who are playing them. I think when you try too hard to cram the games in but expand the sale floor, that's when you get like really claustrophobic and you can't appreciate what you're doing. So I did like that. I also really like the amount of room that some booths were allowed to get. I know some conventions, they won't let you take up extra large area or buy more booths and things like that. So I liked how it almost felt when you were going to certain areas that you were experiencing it the way they want you to. When there were the game floors attached to certain previews, and they were all thematic. And the booths in general, some of them went above and beyond. One of the coolest that I saw was the Storyteller Squad. Hold on. I got a thing. Their merch is insane. Look at this. They're an actual play, and I had not met them before. I didn't really get to meet them after. I would have loved to like grab a snack or a bite to eat with them. But look at this. Look at how cool this is. So I got my first Magic playmat. I guess I'm committed now. I have 2 decks now. It's escalating. But their booth literally looked like they had a kind of outdoor tree area, like a campsite area, and there was kind of like all the cast was working in the booth. Oh, it was just so nice. It was so cozy. They're everything I hope to be one day. But what really made Gen Con, honestly, wasn't the booths or the places or even the convention itself. It was the people. It was getting to go in cosplay to the Scorch Basin with all my friends who put work into their own stuff and let me make them custom jackets. It was going to a meet and greet with Start Playing, who they're phenomenal, by the way, and getting to see my online friends for the first time, like, ever. It was the literal, like, picking up hug from Sloan and Frecky running across the room like his life depended on it. It was making our friend Dave, who was friends with them, and now is friends with me. It was meeting one of my best friends, Willow, and just getting to spend tons of time with her. It was meeting Stephanie and Crow and Luke Goblin, Den of the Drake, all for my engagement party. It was the drinks we had and the laughter we shared. And the copious amounts of food. And one of the most special parts was getting to go with almost my entire D&D table. We just shared an Airbnb together. And my best friend's partner just cooked for us the whole time. If we weren't out eating, he was home making us like dumplings from like scratch. He brought like a pasta roller to make the dumplings. I find that Gen Con itself has almost like a weird dystopian, very different style of convention. Even in cosplay, like people didn't ask to like take pictures or anything like that like they normally do at other places. I know a lot of my friends got recognized, but people were too afraid to approach. I luckily had one gentleman come and tell me that they loved my channel, and I cried the rest of the day. I was unwell. It just kind of felt like it wasn't for the people who play the games. It was just a place to put the games and hoping the people would come. And maybe that's not even bad. Maybe it's just not my cup of tea. Will I go back again next year and hope that maybe they've put in some benches? Yeah. Because, like, my own disability aside, like, people gotta sit, bro. People gotta sit. Do I hope they'll give an option to put usernames, aliases, or any of the likes onto your passes? Yeah, man. Yeah, I'd really like that. But if they don't, do I hope they at the very least have enough security to justify doing that? Yeah. But I'm definitely wanting to give it at least one more go. But that's because of the people. And if there's one thing that I got to take out of Gen Con, one thing that's gonna really stay with me, it's how good of a community we have here. We are filled with some of the most joy and love I've seen in any corner of the internet. I got to run into Professor Dungeon Master at a bar, and even in person, he is one of the sweetest guys. I don't think I'm ever gonna forget Sloan trucking me around at 1 a.m. to help me meet up with Diana for a playtest for a really cool pirate game. I haven't stopped thinking about the game ever since, and I'm like really mad that I'm not playing it like now. It was getting Cracker Barrel breakfast before they announced the reckoning, god dang it! And it was Pat, Bone Wizard, hiding his face, but not his heart, and staying with us almost the entire convention. I love you, dude. Even our new friend Matthew, who was actually like a +1 of D&D shorts, Will, and we love Will, but like my fiance was just like, Matthew's my friend now, and I'm like, okay. It was one of the most healing events of my life because it felt like my inner child was allowed to be exactly who I'm supposed to be. No hiding, no changing, no trying to please somebody with how I talk or act. I got to whip out funny voices around friends and wear a jawbone on my head to an event. And the most stressful part about this entire video is knowing that I'm probably going to forget one of my friends' names in it because there was so much, and I didn't even know I had this many friends, and I'm like, huh? But that's what made it special. So tell you now, I'll definitely be going next year in some capacity. If you ever see me at Gen Con, please come say hi. For the love of God, please say hi. If you see me at any convention, come say hi. That being said, I'm going to also be at PAX Unplugged. Hopefully I'll see some of you guys there. And now we should be back to weekly videos, even if it is just chit-chatting like this and not the big production ones, but I do have some big production ones in the works. And I hope you like everything else that I put out for Scorch September. Do you want to come say bye, Baba? Crackers? There you are. Come here. Come on. Come say bye. Either way, I will see you next Monday. And until then, take care. Stay well. Bye, guys. Can't eat tonight, 'cause you eat me. I'm sorry you didn't get Vander Demander today's video. He's downstairs taking a nap. But I hope getting old man crackers has made up for it.